In his latest mock draft, ESPN's Todd McShay has the Jets taking BYU quarterback Zach Wilson second overall. He also has the Jets taking Clemson running back Travis Etienne at number 23 overall. That is the Seattle pick in the Jamal Adams trade. Now, in his previous mock draft, the player that McShay had the Jets taking was Penei Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon. So this is a significant change in what McShay is thinking the Jets will do. Now, this is significant because Todd McShay, you know who his roommate in college was? A lot of people probably don't know this. Todd McShay's roommate at Richmond University was Joe Douglas, who is the general manager of the Jets. I'm not saying Joe told him what they're doing, but I think McShay would have a pretty good idea on the thought process of Joe Douglas, which is why he would change his mock draft. I think regardless of what happens with the second overall pick, it will be a quarterback taken there. The Jets could trade down. They could trade the pick to Houston for Deshaun Watson. That's what I want. That's what most Jet fans want. But it's significant that it's no longer a player that's not a quarterback at 2. I think this is just more evidence that Sam Darnold's gone. And it's not because the Jets don't think Sam Darnold can't be a good quarterback. The Jets can really like Darnold, but also acknowledge that keeping him is just too big of a risk when you're picking this high. When you have the second overall pick in the draft, and let's assume they're not trading for Watson for the sake of this conversation. When you're picking second overall, you got to think big picture. You're going to be bad enough to get a quarterback that could be this good if you run it back with Sam Darnold with a competent coaching staff. Even if Sam's better next year, is he going to prove to be your guy long term? There's some doubt there. You have the second pick in the draft. You have to think we're not going to be bad enough to be picking this high next year. So we better get our quarterback if we think either Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Trey Lance are going to be star franchise quarterbacks. The quarterback evaluation process, if it ends up being, well, we think Wilson and Fields and Darnold are all around the same with weapons and the right coaching staff, we think they all could be very good players. Well, then the tie would go to the rookie quarterback because of the contract situation. Sam Darnold's going into year 4. You got to worry about his 5th-year option. You got to guarantee him $25 million. I don't think the Jets would be comfortable doing that. Joe Douglas did not draft Sam Darnold. Robert Saleh was not the coach when that selection was made. They don't owe Sam Darnold anything. It's not a knock on Sam. It's more so just the circumstance. And I think the evidence has been out there for a while, but now it's as strong as it's ever been, that Sam Darnold's played his last game as a Jet. Regardless if the Jets trade for Deshaun Watson or not, I believe they're going to use the second overall pick and take a quarterback. And I believe it will be Zach Wilson when it's all said and done. But that certainly could change. It does seem like, just kind of looking big picture at all the mock drafts, it seems like Zach Wilson has clearly emerged as the number 2 quarterback. For basically most of the season in college football, it was Trevor Lawrence 1, and then number 2 was Justin Fields from Ohio State. It seems like now it is clearly Lawrence 1, huge gap, Wilson, then Fields. Although, if you read McShay's mock draft, he has Trey Lance being taken before Justin Fields. He has Fields being the 4th quarterback taken. I could remember when we had discussions on if Fields could actually get to Lawrence's level. Remember that? That was a legitimate conversation by some in the media. Could Justin Fields pass Trevor Lawrence? And now McShay has him as the 4th quarterback being taken. And I get it. He struggled against Indiana and Northwestern. He didn't play well, but did you watch the tape against Clemson? I think Fields is going to be a very good quarterback. I really do. But I'm going to defer to Joe Douglas. If he thinks, Wilson's going to be better, take him. That's how I kind of look at it as a Jet fan. But there's just too much writing on the wall that Sam Darnold's played his last game for the Jets. And it's not necessarily all Sam's fault. But if Joe Douglas thinks the tie is, they're about even, but we didn't draft him, got to take rookie quarterback contract, well, that's how it's going to be. So I found that very interesting that McShay has the Jets now taking a quarterback. I'll say this again, though. Regardless of what team is picking second overall, the Jets, a team they trade back with, maybe the Lions come up and take a quarterback. Maybe Carolina comes up and takes a quarterback. Regardless of what happens, I believe the second overall pick is going to be a quarterback, and I believe it's going to be Zach Wilson. Might not be the Jets. Could be the Texans if they make a Deshaun Watson trade. But I don't think for a second it's going to be another position. Like, there's no way they're taking, Penei Sewell, or Penei Sewell, I think that's his name, a tackle that high, when if you're the Jets, you already have Mekhi Becton at left tackle. You cannot draft a right tackle second overall. You just can't do it. If you want to take a tackle, trade down, get some extra picks, and then take the guy. You can't do it second overall. And I don't know if you could take a wide receiver second overall either. You have too many needs. Would I love Devontae Smith in a Jet uniform? Hell yeah, I would. Would I love Jamar Chase in a Jet uniform? Hell yeah, I would. But it's too much there. Too many needs. So I think the move would be to trade down and still get a very good player in the top 5, top 6. If you're not trading for Deshaun Watson, or you're not drafting a quarterback, which I think that's like the third option for the Jets. I think the likelihood Sam Darnold's back is very small at this point. And I've felt that way for a while, but seeing McShay, have the Jets now taking a quarterback at 2, knowing his relationship with Joe Douglas, I think that is more evidence that Sam Darnold's played his last game as a Jet. Here's the thing with Darnold, though. There's a market for him. We're going to see Carson Wentz get traded, we believe, in the coming days. There's plenty of teams that should take a swing at Sam Darnold. Listen to what Carson Palmer told me on the show last week when I asked him point blank if he thinks Sam Darnold could be salvaged at this point of his career.
Do you think Sam Darnold's a guy that can be salvaged either with the Jets if they stick with him or on another team?
Oh, Sam Darnold can play. Sam Darnold's a franchise quarterback without a doubt. I don't know many quarterbacks that could succeed in the situation he's been in for his first couple of years in the league. But, if Sam Darnold ends up with the right coach and the right organization, watch out. I mean, he can do it all. He can throw every ball. He's extremely savvy in the pocket. Something that a lot of people don't give much cred. But I think his ability to stay inside the pocket, to manipulate the pocket, find the soft spot in the pocket, and deliver the ball is as good as anybody in the league. And then you also saw him take off and run and shock some people with his athleticism. So there's no question in my mind, Sam has the potential to be a great quarterback and for years to come. But it also shows you just how important it is from a quarterback's perspective. You got to go to a good organization. The organization has more of an ability to steer your career as a successful career or a negative career than your actually athletic abilities. If you go to a wrong place, it can be a long career or a short career for a player dependent upon that organization.
I think everything Carson Palmer said there is right, but the Jets can't gamble on the fact that Sam Darnold turns into a star with Robert Saleh as the head coach. You can't gamble on that fact when you're picking second overall. You are not going to be bad enough to be picking this high next year. You have no idea if next year there's even going to be a quarterback class as good as Wilson and Fields as quote-unquote consolation prizes to missing out on Trevor Lawrence. Probably any other year, those guys would be the first quarterback off the board. So you got to remember that as well. But there's teams that should be in on Sam Darnold. The team that doesn't end up with Carson Wentz should call the Jets immediately and get Sam. Like, you can't tell me, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, that you wouldn't be able to turn Sam Darnold into a star. He's 23 years old. You watch some of the highlights, there's upside there. There's a reason why this guy was the 3rd pick in the draft. I seriously think that whoever doesn't get Wentz should call the Jets right away. I think the Washington football team should be in on Darnold. They have the 19th pick in the draft. I would, if that's what it took to get him, I'd trade that. We heard the Adam Schefter report from earlier in the week that a late 1 could potentially be expected for Sam. Well, late 1, how about the Saints 28th overall? I go back to that. Jameis Winston's a free agent. Why not take a chance on Sam Darnold? And if it doesn't work out, well, then you have Taysom Hill still under contract. You're paying him. Let Sam compete with Hill for the job. That's what I would do if I'm the Saints. All of a sudden, you have a 23-year-old quarterback with major upside. The Saints maximized Drew Brees, turned him into a Hall of Famer. Maybe they could get the most out of Sam. I'm telling you, a lot of people probably didn't watch Sam Darnold's rookie year because why would you? The Jets were terrible with Todd Bowles. The last 5 games of Sam's rookie year, he led the NFL in passer rating. We have not seen really that player since, but I believe that's because he was coached by the worst offensive coach in the history of the NFL in Adam Gase. And he had a bad offensive line, and he had bad weapons. Like, I think in the right system, Sam Darnold could still be a star in the league. You know, you look at that quarterback class from 2018, Baker Mayfield has been very good. Obviously, there's major questions with Sam, but I still believe in him. Josh Allen's turned into a star. Lamar Jackson's turned into a star. You know, the only player that's a clear bust is Josh Rosen. Sam Darnold was picked high for a reason. I wouldn't give up on him if I'm an NFL team that needs a quarterback. But from the Jets standpoint, more evidence we know the fate of Sam. It won't be in New York.